What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. It's been a very busy weekend in the NFL, and we got to get caught up with the biggest news of the day. The Commanders have acquired Deebo Samuel in a trade with the 49ers. How big of a needle mover is Deebo going to be on the Commanders' Super Bowl chances? Does he still have a little bit juice left in the tank? Are the Commanders going to be able to utilize him properly? He has a very unique skill set. He's not one of those wideouts that you can plug and play into any system and he's going to work out. You got to be very creative with how you use him to get the most out of his talents. And then there's a few other topics that we got to discuss. There's a bidding war going on for Justin Fields. Surprisingly, Myles Garrett has no interest in re-signing with the Cleveland Browns, but despite his lack of interest in staying in Cleveland, the Browns still refuse to trade him, and it just is really stupid on their behalf to just hold him hostage. What's next for the Raiders with Matthew Stafford staying in LA? And I got thoughts on Shedeur Sanders. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's dive into it. The first trade of the NFL offseason has just took place. The Commanders have acquired Deebo Samuel from the 49ers in exchange for a fifth-round selection. My initial thoughts on this trade is that I don't feel like Deebo is a huge needle mover for the Commanders' Super Bowl chances. I'm not saying that he still isn't a solid player, but his name at this point of his career is way bigger than the production that we've seen him put on the field these last couple of seasons. Ever since his All-Pro year in 2021, we've seen Deebo lose his explosiveness. He's been injury prone. He also has had an issue with drops. This is a low-risk, high-reward move by the Commanders. You only got him for a fifth-round pick, so you're not risking too much. But for Deebo to have a huge impact on this offense, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Cliff Kingsbury to find creative ways to get him involved in this offense. Deebo is a very unique player. He has a unique skill set that makes it hard for him to just be a plug-and-play guy into any system and to put up elite numbers. You have to scheme him open, and you have to manufacture touches for him. Rather, if it's creating mismatches with him in the backfield at running back, you get him one-on-one against a linebacker or a safety, that's a way that you can use Deebo to create mismatches on opposing defenses with your offense. But when it comes to Deebo manufacturing plays by himself, it's hard for him to do that. He's lacking the ability to create separation over the last couple of years. That's been one of the biggest flaws with his game. He's not a really good route runner, so therefore a lot of catches are going to be contested. He still is a very good deep threat. He has a good amount of speed left in the tank, pretty good acceleration, and we know he's really good after the catch when he's running guys over, mauling guys to the ground. He's a fun player to watch. The Commanders, though, still need another wide receiver to go along with Deebo and Terry McLaurin. We know they aren't going to get T. Higgins in free agency. He probably isn't going to touch the market, but if you get a Devontae Adams, a Cooper Kupp, or even a Stephon Diggs, this is one of the most dangerous offenses going into next season. If you get one more wide receiver, that's the only thing you're missing. Then you can worry about the offensive line and adding some more talent at running back. Deebo by himself, though, makes the Commanders' offense more scarier. But in terms of their Super Bowl chances overall, Deebo isn't the player he used to be to where he can just take over a game. I think at this stage of his career, he's a good second, third option in your offense when you have a bunch of other good players around him. But if you need him to carry the load for you, to be that number one guy, he's going to have a hard time doing that. But with Terry McLaurin And if you can get another wide out alongside Deebo, he could be a really good complementary piece to this offense. You can move him around in so many different areas to create mismatches that it could help Jaden Daniels take an even bigger leap in year two than what we saw him do in year one. Year one, what he looked like his first season in the league compared to his last season in college was night and day. I didn't even recognize Jaden Daniels. He already, to me, is a top 5 quarterback. Of course, getting a guy like Deebo gives Jaden another weapon to throw the ball to. And like I said earlier, I'm not saying that Deebo isn't a solid player. He's not washed completely to me. He still has his games when he can go over 100 yards receiving and have 2 touchdowns, but the consistency hasn't been there, and it probably isn't going to be there anymore. You're not going to have a Deebo Samuel that's going to have 5-6 straight games consecutively when he goes over 100 yards. He's going to have a lot of inconsistent weeks. He's going to have some good games, and he's going to have some games where you don't hear his name called at all. And to me, I feel if Deebo Samuels goes back to number 19, that could be what could resurrect his career. When he had number 19, the dude was a force to be reckoned with. He was like Marshawn Lynch at wide receiver, but he goes to number 1, and I don't know what happened. Maybe it was a little bit of voodoo with the number change, but he needs to go back to that 1-9. That 19 problems was causing hella problems in the NFL, and 19 problems is more problems than 1. And I definitely think if you are the Commanders, you probably rather him go back to number 19. You don't want to be a little bit over superstitious, but kind of throw it out there. Be like, Deebo, when you last had that 1-9 on, boy, we were looking at you different. You were moving different. Maybe you put that 1-9 back on again, you could rekindle a little bit of a flash in the past. Just saying. We got a shocking update at the Combine about the Steelers' current quarterback situation. It's being reported they got no interest in bringing back Russ at all. They gave him a lowball offer. They don't anticipate him signing it at all. They feel he's going to be disrespected. And they want to bring back Justin Fields as long as it's for the right price. However, though, unexpected turn has happened. The New York Jets are rumored to be in on Justin Fields. They want him to sign a 1-year deal so he can be a bridge quarterback for a season. Maybe you end up striking gold like how the Vikings did last year with Sam Darnold and the Bucs the year before with Baker Mayfield. We've seen over the last couple of years quarterbacks that have been able to resurrect their careers going to the right situation. If Justin Fields ends up being a good fit with Aaron Glenn and that new coaching staff down there, this could be one of the biggest offseason pickups of this year. And the Steelers, if they lose Justin Fields, they're SOL. Their other options outside of Justin are not that attractive. Daniel Jones seems like a move the Steelers would make. Remember when they signed Mitch Trubisky? I want to put it past them picking up Daniel Jones. Sam Darnold, he's going to be very expensive. Are the Steelers willing to dish out the money that it takes to lure Sam Darnold to Pittsburgh? I don't really know. I don't anticipate them being that aggressive. I think there's also a chance that maybe they go after Aaron Rodgers. As much as getting Daniel Jones seems like a Steelers move, Aaron Rodgers has a pretty good relationship with Mike Tomlin. There's a lot of mutual respect between the two. I don't know about you. I still believe Aaron Rodgers has one more good season left in the tank before he hangs it up. And I know Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to end his career going out the way he did with the Jets. Going to the Steelers, you're going to a stable organization with a head coach that you respect and a pretty good team around you. Yeah, you need some more pieces at wide receiver, but the Steelers are going to get that addressed. They mainly have to focus on getting the quarterback position situated. Aaron Rodgers despite his old age, still had top 5 numbers statistically. He had like 28 touchdowns. He still had a relatively modest interception number. With the situation the Steelers are in right now, you don't have no better options. You're not going to trade up in the draft for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. You're going to have to give up too much. And if you get a guy like a Jackson Dart, a Quinn Ewers, or a Jalen Milroe in round 2, round 3, that's more of a long-term solution. It doesn't help you in the short term. Your goal this year is to end your long-standing playoff drought. And the best chance you're going to have at doing that is by getting a solid quarterback. I don't know if any of these other rookies not named Cam Ward or Shedeur are guaranteed to be successful franchise quarterbacks in the league. I don't really feel like the Steelers are in a good situation right now with them being in a bidding war for Justin Fields. You can have a number that you set that you don't want to go over, but then again, are you willing to let Justin Fields walk to New York and to pay less money for a guy in Daniel Jones who could end up being a lot worse than what Justin Fields was last season? Because Justin Fields was really good. 10 total touchdowns, only 1 turnover. The Steelers were on top of the AFC North. I felt the Steelers put themselves in a bad situation by starting Russell Wilson, because we never got to truly figure out how good Justin Fields actually is. Just how much has he improved? We only got to see a small sample size. And you're going into potentially his second season with Pittsburgh if he comes back. What if he reverts back to the player we saw him be when he was with the Bears? You know, last year was a good opportunity to get an extended look at Justin Fields. Now, I'm not against rolling the dice on Justin being the full-time quarterback this year. I believe that if it works out, like we've seen Geno Smith and other quarterbacks who have revived their careers in better situations, maybe Justin can finally get the Steelers a playoff win. You know, with his athleticism, his arm strength, the only thing that he's lacking is the consistency throwing the football. With a year to sit behind a veteran like Russell Wilson, maybe that's what Justin Fields needed to reset. We'll see. But as a Steeler fan right now, I don't really feel good about this current situation. I'm really nervous with this bidding war the Steelers could be in with Justin Fields. If we got to overpay to keep Justin, I'm all for it. The options out there in the quarterback market and free agency are awful. Are you willing to let Justin Fields sign elsewhere and to run it back with Daniel Jones or Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, I'd rather go with Justin. The upside is there. The potential is there. And with the continuity that he could have with a second year under Arthur Smith, who really liked working with him, I don't see no reason why he couldn't have one of those big comeback stories that we've seen happen these past couple of years with these quarterbacks. With Matthew Stafford deciding to stay with the Rams, the Raiders have no choice but to pivot their plan at quarterback to Sam Darnold. He gives the Raiders the best chance to be competitive right away year one under Pete Carroll. That's what the goal is. The Raiders aren't trying to rebuild. They're trying to hit the ground up and running right away. And if you don't get Sam Darnold, there are no other quarterbacks out there that you could sign in free agency that give you a shot at winning the toughest division in the NFL. If you thought the AFC West was a dogfight last year, you don't know what the hell this conference is going to be this season. The Chargers have a lot of cap space to improve their team. So do the Denver Broncos. They both have great head coaches and promising young quarterbacks. The Raiders are going to be left behind if they end up having to settle for Russell Wilson or Daniel Jones. A guy like Pete Carroll could win 6-7 games with those guys. But in terms of you being able to achieve your goal and to possibly compete for a playoff spot right away, you need more out of the quarterback position than an aging Russell Wilson and Daniel Jones. You need a quarterback that can at least give you top 15 level play in the right situation. And that's what Sam Darnold can do for Las Vegas. They have a great situation that's set up perfectly for him to succeed. You got a great coaching staff. Chip Kelly, you hired him as your offensive coordinator, one of the most innovative offensive minds that the game of football has ever seen. You got Brock Bowers at tight end. Now you just need another wide receiver or two to pair along with him, improve the offensive line, get a running back. How are you going to be able to do all this? You got a lot of cap space to spend in free agency, and you got a ton of draft capital. Sam Darnold is perfect for what the Raiders' goals are this year. They're not trying to win a Super Bowl. They're not trying to be the best team in the league. They're just trying to give this fan base a reason to be optimistic. They're trying to show that they no longer are committed to being the worst franchise in the league. They are truly committed to excellence now, with Tom Brady being the minority owner. And he's been given a lot of say-so, and a lot of the coaching moves and the personnel decisions that have taken place. He was actively trying to recruit Matthew Stafford to the Raiders. The report out there is that they offered more money than what he got with the Rams, but he ultimately just loved LA. He didn't want to up and dip move again, and that's understandable. And I believe in what Tom Brady is trying to build the Las Vegas Raiders into. I believe he's going to succeed. But if you don't get Sam Darnold, your options at quarterback become incredibly thin. If you draft Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, or you trade up to make that happen, I still don't believe either one of those guys gives you the best chance to be competitive year one under Pete Carroll. Inserting a rookie quarterback into arguably the toughest division in the NFL with three of the best defenses. The Chiefs have a great defense with Steve Spagnuolo. We saw the Broncos had a top 10 defense last year, along with the LA Chargers. This division is just way too tough to ask a rookie quarterback to have the kind of season that we saw Jaden Daniels have last year with the Commanders. It's going to take that kind of effort and a little bit more if the Raiders can win with the rookie quarterback. I just don't see it happening. The Raiders right now, they got to get Sam Darnold. That's your only option at this point, and you got to exhaust all resources to make sure you can get him to sign on the dotted line. Are you worried about overspending on Sam Darnold? You shouldn't. The market has pretty much set the value for Sam Darnold. At most, he probably gets $40 million, $45 million when you add in the incentives and whatnot. I don't have anything against Sam getting 40 to 45 million. Yeah, 45 would be a little bit of an overspend, but I'm willing to overpay a little bit if I know that I'm getting top 15 level quarterback play. We know Pete Carroll is going to improve the line of scrimmage. The ground game is going to improve as well. Sam Darnold's not going to be in a situation where he has to carry the team. He can be a very good game manager. And the Raiders should have a very good defense. I can't wait to see a healthy Christian Wilkins paired up with Max Crosby. And I hope they can get another elite edge rusher like a Josh Sweat in free agency, because that would be even more scarier. I love the Raiders' chances to surprise the NFL if they can make the move to sign Sam Darnold. They should already be tampering with him right now. By the time we get to March 10th, the first news we should see at 12 a.m. is that Sam Darnold has signed a 2-3-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. That's your only best option at this point. Myles Garrett has just doubled down on his trade request out of Cleveland. He has no interest in negotiating a new deal with this franchise, and yet the Browns stupidly refused to trade him. And why this is a stupid move on the behalf of Cleveland is, for one, the longer you hold on to Myles Garrett, the less trade value he has. If you trade him right now, you can get a mega haul of 2-3 first-round picks and a few second, third-rounders to help get your rebuild going fast. And then if Denzel Ward holds true to his word and he wants to get traded. If Myles Garrett is out, then you can get another first-round pick in return for a guy like a Denzel Ward. You could flip Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and come away with 4 first-round picks. That's more than enough to catapult your rebuild. And all you're doing by holding on to Myles Garrett is by delaying the inevitable. Even if you have Myles Garrett for the foreseeable future, with your cap situation, how bad of a deal you gave Deshaun Watson has severely put a lot of the handicaps on what you can do in free agency, who you can go after. There's no way in hell the Browns are going to be capable of assembling a team that's going to be competitive enough to even win 7-8 games with how stacked the AFC North is. I mean, we know what the Steelers are despite the questions that they have at quarterback. Mike Tomlin's at least going to get them to 9 wins, but the Ravens only continue to get better every offseason. And the Bengals, we know with them missing out on the playoffs last year, they're going to have a lot of motivation to get back to the postseason this year, and they definitely are going to be very active and trying to make things happen in free agency, although they do have to lock up 3 of their best players to long-term deals. You know, the Browns right now, you don't have any leverage against Myles Garrett. If he sits out, you're going to be significantly worse, and you're just letting your greatest asset depreciate. Trading Myles Garrett makes you a better team in the long term due to the capital you're going to get back for him. One player can turn into 4 high-caliber players if the Cleveland Browns go about this right. You could come away with 3-4 high-end starters trading away Myles Garrett. Look at what the Houston Texans were able to turn that Deshaun Watson trade into. I hate to keep giving you Browns fans PTSD. I know you want to move on from Deshaun Watson, but this Deshaun Watson trade is the equivalent to making a deal with the devil. When you first saw Deshaun Watson on the trade market, you believed that he was the missing piece to finally getting you into Super Bowl contention. So you move on from Baker Mayfield, you bring him in, you give him $250 million fully guaranteed, and you thought you were still getting an elite quarterback. And all you've gotten is not only one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL during his span in Cleveland, but you got somebody that tanked the trajectory of your franchise. You went from being on the cusp of being a Super Bowl contender to getting Deshaun Watson and reverting back to what you've been for so many years. One of the worst ran franchises in the league. And this refusal to trade Myles Garrett further proves why the Browns have been what they've been for so many years. Me and a lot of you all watching have been. So for Cleveland, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to keep holding on to Myles Garrett. The guy wants out. You can get so much in return for him. Sitting out isn't doing anything but hurting you, because if he sits out and then eventually you're ready to move on, instead of getting 3-4 first-round picks for him, you only get 1 or 2, and you cut yourself short. And that's what the Browns continue to do with the passing days that they don't trade Myles Garrett. Another day, some more Shedeur Sanders hate. At the Combine, he made a confident statement to the teams in attendance that if you're not trying to change the franchise or the culture, don't come get me. What's wrong with him saying this? All he's doing is speaking facts. All he's done his past 2 stops in college at Jackson State and Colorado is leave those programs better than what he found them when he first arrived. When he first got to Jackson State, nobody knew about Jackson State that much unless you were just a diehard HBCU fan or you were alum of Jackson State. He gets to Jackson State and he puts that program on the map. Colorado, before he got there, they were relevant in the landscape of college football for going on 2 decades. And then in year 2, he leads them to the best season that they've had in years, along with Travis Hunter, plus with him being top 5 in Heisman voting. Shedeur Sanders isn't lying when he says that if you want somebody that's going to walk in and change your franchise, change your culture, make you a winner, drafting him is the right decision. It's facts. Look what he's done at Jackson State and Colorado. You see, the NFL hates Shedeur Sanders' confidence. They're offended that he has so much belief in himself. They're upset that he's so confident in his abilities that he's willing to play for any organization that drafts him. Remember a few months ago when the idea was passed around of Shedeur possibly pulling a Eli? A lot of folks were really upset with that. They were saying, what gives you the right to say you don't want to play for a team that drafts you? Well, now you have a guy that's willing to play for two of the worst organizations in the league, and yet you're going to bash him for being confident in his ability to turn these franchises into winners. I want my quarterback to be confident. I want my quarterback to have all the belief in the world in his abilities that as long as he's on the field, the team has a shot to win any game they play in. That's what you want out of your quarterback, because that's what gets players in the locker room bought in. Why do you think the Washington Commanders had so much success last year? It wasn't just because they got rid of Dan Snyder and they got a new regime in there, but it also was because of the confidence, the aura that you saw exhibited from Jaden Daniels. And that rubs off the rest of the team. The character concerns for Shedeur Sanders are so overblown because I've never heard any former teammate recently, within the last couple of months, come out and trash Shedeur. Every Colorado player that you hear talk about Shedeur Sanders has nothing but great things to say about him. And if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't have been no Travis Hunter. There wouldn't have been no Jimmy Horn, LaJohntay Western. Shedeur was a large reason why Travis Hunter committed to Jackson State. He built a brotherhood, a bond with Travis Hunter. He built a bond, a brotherhood with LaJohntay Western, Jimmy Horn Jr. They didn't just go to Colorado to play for Deion Sanders. They went there to also play with Shedeur Sanders. They believed anytime Tua's on the field, as long as he had the ball in his hands and there was still time on the clock to win the game, he was always going to get it done. That shows volumes about who Shedeur Sanders is as a person and as a leader that the media, the NFL, never wants to bring up. You see, they're mad that the NFL is mad that the hate has yet to shake Shedeur's confidence. And it's never going to shake his confidence because, like he said, look who his dad is. You know who his dad is. The hate is nothing new to them. The criticism, they thrive off it. It makes them better. They love the criticism because all it does is motivate them to go harder. I really can't understand why there's so much hate on a young quarterback that's confident in his abilities to win in the next level. That's what you got to have to not just win in the NFL, but to win in life. If you go into a job interview not confident you're going to get the job, you already didn't get the job. If you aren't confident that you're going to pass any exam that you have coming up in college, you've already failed. Mentality is everything. You can call it cocky. You can call it arrogance all you want to. But one thing that can never be understated is self-belief. There are so many people in this world that lack the confidence in themselves, and it holds them back because they're scared to take risk. They're scared to make certain decisions because they don't believe that they're going to be able to get the desired outcome necessary or the one that they want. So to see so much backlash over a young, confident quarterback that's just oozing, jumping at the bit to turn around two franchises that haven't had a lot of success these last couple of years is really weird to me, and it makes no sense. The confidence of Shedeur Sanders is something that should be praised, not something that should be used as hate.